Do not attempt to adjust your computer. There is nothing wrong. We have taken control as to bring you this special show. The Mothership is flying through cyberspace once again. My name is Dobie Maxwell, a.k.a. the King of Uranus. Riding sidecar to my left, the lovely and talented Millennial Falcon herself, Carrie Turner. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get that right. And to the right, Greg DeGuire, super geek, uber geek, conspiracy theory expert. And you're an expert in so many things. I bow to thee with your conspiracy. Now, this is episode number 4, as in 1984, as in Big Brother is watching us.
Yes.
I think George Orwell, a.k.a. Eric Blair, which is real name. Did you read 1984 in high school? The book?
No, I didn't.
Are you familiar with it?
No, actually.
Did you? We had to read it.
I watched. I didn't have to read it, but I watched the film. Not maybe not quite the same, but I got.
George Orwell sounds familiar.
George Orwell is a pen name of a guy named Eric Blair, and the movie was basically, it was written in 1948, and he just reversed the numbers. 1984, what he predicted the future would be, and it is frighteningly accurate and scary in the way that it portrays.
Isn't that where the phrase "Big Brother's watching"? Is that where that came from?
That's exactly where it came from, and I think that should be I need to reread it because I haven't read it in years and years. It was scary in high school when I read it. It's not that long of a book, but it really just kind of hits you like the government is in control and everything. You know, the enemies that we're fighting as a government now are going to be our friends years from now, and our friends are going to be our enemies, and everybody's in control. And it's the ultimate, basically, conspiracy theory. And Greg, you are an absolute expert. I bow to thee. And I listen and I learn, so I'm going to shut my pie hole and ask. Oh, this, by the way, this is Al, our alien. I'm going to forget to ask it. I don't know what alien conspiracies are. I'm sure there are a ton of them throughout the universe.
We'll get to some of those too at some point.
Greg's like sweaty.
What is the first one? To me, I look at religion. You know, Jesus' death and resurrection. That's a conspiracy. Yes, it is.
And we didn't talk a lot about the religious stuff on the air because it was a little bit faux pas. We can dig a little bit more deeply into that.
We had a Bible church as our sponsor, and we didn't want to go there.
Yeah, I didn't want them to walk away from the show. But yeah, definitely September 11th is a huge one. I call these the holy holidays for conspiracy theorists. So you got November 22nd, 1963. That's a JFK assassination. You've got late June, early July 1947. That's the Roswell crash. You got September 11th. Was it 2001 by now? Or is that 2000? Jeez, I don't even remember. I think it's 2001. And then you have the original, as we've stated, Jesus.
How about December 7th, 1941? Conspiracy theory, Pearl Harbor. Big conspiracy theory there that we knew about it, that it was going to happen, and basically backed up. We want to get in the war to make money. That is what war does. And
to add to that, I read a lot of World War II books. I find them fascinating beyond, I don't know why, but for some reason they resonate with me. And they didn't teach that in school, that previous to Pearl Harbor, the U.S. wanted nothing to do with the war. It was a hard sell. We didn't even want to ship supplies. I mean, we wanted to be Europe's problem. Adios. It's not really our deal. Tough bummer, but that's not really our problem.
Now, World War I don't know my history as well as I should, and I'm ashamed of myself for that. The sinking of Lusitania, that I believe that is how we got into World War I.
Yeah, there's a lot of. And there was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand.
Correct.
Yeah.
And as somebody that's Carrie's age has no idea what we're talking about here, but because again they don't teach history in schools anymore.
It's more of a social studies kind of thing now, and they don't call it history. I prefer history.
They need to do history because they were doomed to repeat it, and there wouldn't be a World War II, one of the biggest sequels of all time, and there's going to be a World War III, IV, and V. And I think it was Albert Einstein who said World War IV will be fought with sticks.
Stay tuned.
So we're going to ruin the world, blow it up, and there's still going to be war.
Just like Planet of the Apes.
Right. Whatever designed us as a human species, entity, there is a war gene in there somewhere. God,
I claim it's the Anunnaki.
Power,
aliens.
Whomever it is. And supposedly, and you talk about conspiracies, that the aliens, that there's been wars that have been going on millions of years throughout the galaxy and the universe. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. We're going to dig into it. So I'll tell you about, now the one thing I think that the term false flag is a staged event like a 9/11 or sinking Lusitania.
The big one is the Gulf of Tonkin for Vietnam.
Yes.
That's a big one, and that was the sinking, was it a battle or the sinking? Because I've got the book upstairs. I should know more. But that was. So what happens is, so you had all these North Vietnamese come to the South Vietnam, and there was an influx of people. They created tension, and more or less the war started I mean, that's really smoothing it out. But that's kind of anytime you have a large influx of people. So in the neighborhood I live in, if all of a sudden 100,000 people came into my neighborhood tomorrow, it's going to be problematic. And that's exactly what happened in Vietnam. Everyone fled the north to come to the south, and there wasn't room for all these people, and it got to be civil war. This is my land, get out. Just that simple. The Gulf of Tonkin was an accelerant to this event, somehow, some way. But it's still, it's the argument for years. I mean, was it a planned event? Was it not? I mean,
Well, here's a problem that I look at, that they always say, well, these intricate conspiracies that the government, the certain parts of government, they knew 9/11, they're going to blow the planes and the buildings and all that kind of stuff up, and these brilliant people, and they do it. And then I go to the post office, which is run by the government, and
the same government.
The same government, I can't even get stamps without some window-licking half-wit moron. And if you work for the post office, if you're not a window-licking half-wit moron, you are a minority. Because with all their brains, looks, hopes, and dreams, all they can get is a post office job. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think lazy, good-for-nothing people with no goals are attracted to jobs like that. It's like, are all cops corrupt? No, but corrupt people are attracted to that. Bullies, politics is the same thing too.
Yeah.
And you look at the government, the civil service. Well, if it's your business, mom and pop business, okay, you had a restaurant, you came over here, you're an immigrant, you had to give them a good size of food, and you had to give them good service, or they wouldn't come back to your restaurant, and your family would eat. Now you have Applebee's and TJ Weenies and all these Fridays, Thursdays, Tuesdays.
I would eat at TJ Weenie.
Yeah, we
Sure
want for nothing.
Well, my point is, if you get some assistant manager, dorky home slice who went to some community college somewhere, he doesn't own it. If you don't like your meal, if you don't come back, he's not going to lose his job. He's got a big wad of keys on his pants, and he can open up the freezer anytime he wants. And there's not the pressure there. And I think, the conspiracy theories, they go so deep, and I'm thinking, boy, that's pretty amazing if you can pull that off. For example, now I want you to please answer this. I'm sorry to dominate the conversation.
Go for it. No, go
But
for
this
it.
is the question I've had. 9/11, we've all seen it. You were a kid.
Yep,
You
4 years old.
4 years old. So you're trying to wait for Sesame Street to come on.
Well, I was supposed to start preschool that day,
Wow.
and they had to cancel for obvious reasons. So.
I will say, my sister, she flew for the first time. She was always afraid to fly. 9/11 was her first flight. I'm not making it up. She flew from Milwaukee to Las Vegas, and they landed in Denver. They said, we've heard they're in the air, and they said, we have to land. There's been some conspiracy. We're not sure if there's war or not. And she said, we're in Denver, and all the hotels were full. So people we were on the plane list said, well, come and stay at our house for a few nights. And they said, the strangers in our house, and it's like, I didn't fly before, and I'm telling my husband, this is why I don't want to fly ever again. So after 4 or 5 nights, they rented a car and drove home. So how is like that? It's not so much a movie script right there. But my point is, they said, okay, the buildings are demolished, but we found the driver's license, the ID of one of the terrorists in there. Is that true? I don't believe that for a second.
They say they did.
They say
they also didn't find anything of any interest. So here's the thing. Here's the sticking point that I've always had. It's not the Twin Towers. It was Building 6. It's in the same block, World Trade Center Square. It's a couple of different buildings. So the towers fall down from planes. You can argue about that ad nauseum. Well, no, they couldn't have, or yes, they could. Well, no one's ever going to solve that argument. But
ad nauseum is a good band name.
Yeah, ad nauseum. Okay, hold on. Let me write that down.
That's a good band
And at the end of every show, I'm going to say the band names I came up with.
That's a good one.
That's a running gag. If you're just joining us in episode 4, if a term comes up that could be a possible name for a band of any genre, hard rock, polka, rock, funk,
musical,
disco.
Polka funk disco is a new genre.
Polka funk disco. Greg will write it down.
Yeah,
So if you have one, please feel free to email us with it. Please continue.
So, anyways, the towers fall, and there were claims that the FBI actually found the black boxes, and they replayed them and said they didn't find of anything. They found nothing significant in the black boxes to sway one way or t'other. But yet, they also claimed to have found the passports to 2 of the hijackers. So, let's see. Big pile of burning steel. Lots of things never found. But wait a minute. You found 3 sheets of paper and a passport. Unharmed.
And they don't burn.
They don't, paper doesn't burn. It's a new kind of paper.
Exactly.
But another building caught on fire. Building 6. Later that day, you saw there was a camera. It's like, oh my God, another building's falling. It's like a 20, 30, not a very tall building compared to Twin Towers. And that building fell. Everybody caught it on camera. Well, that's weird. It looked like it fell like the two towers. Like I mean, this looked like a controlled demolition, is what they say. So the real key question is, why do they have to pull it? Furthermore, do you have any idea how long it takes to plan a controlled demolition of a building of any size?
I think weeks.
I'm going to call that weeks. So let me get this straight. They call it Ground Zero. The greatest air disaster in human history has just happened. Two of the tallest buildings in the world, close to it, have just fallen within hours of each other. And on that scene where all hell/chaos is broken loose, somehow you're able to bring in a worldwide specialist demolitions team to be able to what they call pull a building. So you're able to pull that precision destruction off in the midst of all that other construction and pull it off like clockwork.
It's a scratch. Doesn't match up here.
But you know who had offices in that infamous Building 6? The CIA and the FBI, and they claimed that all the material was lost. Whatever we had in our hard drives, everything we had, whatever evidence we had for or against anything, oops, it's gone.
And there was gold in there too, was there not? That's what.
Well, now they say there was a giant bundle of gold buried underneath the World Trade Center towers, and nobody knows exactly.
No, I heard it was Building 6, and
Building 6,
and I could be wrong about that. I don't know.
So I read something quickly thereafter. Well, what happened to the gold? Well, it melted, turned into a river, and went down the drain. Really?
My dog ate it.
Has anyone seen? Has no one seen the third Die Hard movie, Die Hard with a Vengeance? They pulled off a bank heist right in the middle of New York, and they almost got away with it. I think somebody saw that movie like, geez, Bruce Willis can almost figure this out. I bet we can. You know, if you've never seen the third Die Hard movie, they steal a boatload of gold from underneath the bank reserve in New York City under the guise of subway accidents and all these other things. It's a fantastic movie. But, geez, does no one find any similarities? I mean, come on with this. Or a River of Gold.
Okay, again, if we could talk about the 9/11, and people have, and there are books about it.
Oh, it's a religion. It's a religion.
I want to go back, and another religion is the moon landings that allegedly in the 1960s, when you weren't even thought of yet, I don't think your parents even knew each other.
I wouldn't thought of yet.
Weren't even born.
Exactly, and I do remember. I know I'm old, but I remember the first one in 1969. I was born in '63, so I was 6 years old, and I remember seeing it on TV, and it was a black and white TV. And then I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're on the moon. And I went outside, of course, and I looked up, and I'm thinking, I thought I could see the spaceship, you know, like an idiot 6-year-old. And then now it comes out now that we never went in the first place. It was all the guys for war because it was against Russia, the Cold War. Well, we had the technology to get to the moon. We can kick your butt too.
Yeah, it was all a scare tactic.
Yeah.
Look at here what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Now that ties into Kennedy too. Some say, all right, the Kennedy assassination is another religion. People will argue about it for decades to come over the hows, whys, and wherefores. Point is, a man died. It's a bummer. But he was a man with a vision. His vision was to share our knowledge with the Russians so we could have a combined space program so the world can enjoy the outer limits, not just one particular nation. See? So some say that is why he was assassinated, because he was considered soft on communism. Also, there's some smoke to that fire because of where he was assassinated in Dallas, Texas.
I think it was in the head.
Yes, I think he was in the head in Dallas. Right, good call. Good call.
Okay.
There's the infamous shot in Air Force One of LBJ. He's got his right hand in the Bible, and you can see him. There's a black and white photo. Jackie Kennedy's right here. Now, in the background, there's a nerdy looking feller with a bow tie. Mm-hmm. That nerdy-looking fellow with the bow tie was the head of the NASA space program at that particular point in time. Why in the hell was he there? Enjoying the parade, Rob, was he? Or was he in the next 2 limos down? Why the hell was he there? I'm not even sure NASA was in Dallas at the time. I don't know. I mean, a lot of their stuff's in Houston. I don't know. I've never really been able to find out the answer to that question. So I'm not saying NASA shot Kennedy. I'm just saying it's interesting how you can tie things together.
I just never heard that one before.
It's a good one, isn't it?
That's a really good one. And I heard somebody came up with this, that it was a nervous CIA, not a CIA, Secret Service person.
Oh, yeah. Clint Bauer?
That heard a shot.
Yeah.
Took out his gun to try to protect the president. The gun goes off and shoots the president in the head.
Yeah, that was the limo driver. His first name was Clint. Mm-hmm. All right, so the name of the driver was either Clint or Clint was the guy behind the limo helping Jackie Kennedy get back in the limo. And for the record, when she's reaching out on the limo, she's not trying to get out. She's actually picking up pieces of JFK's brain to put his head back together. So that's why she's trying to crawl out. She's not trying to crawl out. She's getting bits of head back to kind of smash him back together. But yes, I had heard that theory too. And in another notebook, I probably have notes about that too.
And there's just so much to go that, again, we're scratching the surface.
Yeah, we're just, yeah.
But allegedly, now if it's all tied together with NASA and then they didn't go, allegedly Stanley Kubrick, movie director, film director at the time, filmed it in England. So,
if anyone could have pulled it off at the time, it would have been him.
And again, allegedly, in the studio where they did it, there was a Coke can that somebody left. Did you hear that?
Oh, I've heard that theory, yeah.
And in the Houston paper, they showed the picture of them on the moon, and in one of the early editions, it had the Coke can already in the picture that they left in there. So they clipped it in later editions, but one of the first editions, they had it out. Like, we're talking about Roswell conspiracy. One of the first editions of the paper
real quick,
there.
I want to say, an old TV movie called Capricorn 1. If you remember old TV movies, I don't remember when.
No, that was a theater movie.
Yeah, it was a theater movie.
O.J. Simpson was in it.
Capricorn 1 talks about just that exact same. Remember, these fellers are going to Mars, but they faked the whole thing so well that the astronauts didn't exactly know what was going on. They drugged them, brought them to the studio. Oh, look, we're here. But then the astronauts were going to tell people, and they had the astronauts shot. Good movie, and if you buy into the fake moon landing, I highly recommend trying to find a copy of that movie because it is really good.
They just showed it at one of the theaters in the Chicago area about a year ago. I went to see it. It holds up pretty well. OJ plays a good guy. He's an astronaut.
Oh,
so there's another conspiracy.
That's
OJ
another,
Simpson. There's another one. Wow, I think it never ends. Now, how old were you when OJ came out? Were you alive for that?
I don't think so. That was early 90s, right?
95.
Oh, yeah, 97. So.
You were born in 90. Okay, missed it. Amazing to me.
I remember I was at a bowling alley doing a Friday night no-tap sweeper at Sharon Lanes, drinking beers. Bowling stopped to watch the Bronco.
Oh, wow.
Like everyone, you could have heard a pin drop. We were all in the bar. Then we hurry up to finish what we were doing game-wise so we could all get back in the bar.
Yeah.
Just shovel down pizzas and popcorn and beers watching the whole thing unfold. I mean, it was bizarre. No one's ever watched. I mean, I've seen sporting events in public places, but usually everyone's a hooting and a hollering and talking about their favorite team. Not this time. It was quiet. It's absolutely dead quiet.
So if you have any input on a conspiracy theory that you'd like us to talk about, we will find a guest, get that person on. When we had our radio show, we did 9/11.
Sure did.
All the stuff we talked about today, we had guests on because you can open it up and just keep peeling the onion over and over and over again. We could do 10 episodes on Kennedy, and didn't they seal the records for 50 years, I believe? 50 years from...
Yeah, and my question to all that was why? Why would you seal the documents for that long? What would be the one reason? Oh, we can't... All right, we're not gonna let people see this for let's call it 60 years. Why do you think that would be? I mean, first thing that pops in your head, why would they do that?
Because there's some incriminating evidence somewhere.
Bingo.
Wow.
Bingo was his name. Oh, because they incriminate somebody, someone of prominent stature that they don't want to let out. My hypothesis, and it's not mine, but books that I've read that it ties into the family of George Herbert Walker Bush, Poppy Bush. I think the Bush family had something to do with Kennedy's assassination. There are all kind of books about the subject, and it was one that I had read recently, and that's a theory I didn't know before. And I read this guy's book. It's like, wow, there's no way the Bush family could be this bad. But as it turns out, the Bush family's got some tricky family roots. They go back to World War II. Herbert Walker Bush's dad, now his name escapes me, back in the 1940s, they ran a bank with Merriman, George Merriman, and they ran a bank in New York, and they funded the Nazis. So the Nazis in Germany wanted to send their money overseas to keep it safe. It was George Herbert Walker Bush's dad who ran that bank, who controlled Nazi money. So they were obviously Nazi sympathizers. That doesn't make them worst people in history, but that makes them shady by default.
Wasn't Henry Ford a Nazi sympathizer as well?
There were a lot of Nazi sympathizers. You had them in General Motors. You had them in Coca-Cola because these guys got to drive cars. They got to eat. Standard Oil was another big one. That's why a lot of these oil companies split after the war, because it was, well, all right, who sold trucks to the Nazis? Which one of you's done it? Okay, you're out. So they come up with another company altogether. I mean, that's war.
Another company. Who killed the electric car? Company. Conspiracy. Excuse me. Company. I was thinking
Who killed the electric car?
You ever see that? It's a movie. It's a film. Check it out. I believe it is on YouTube.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, probably oil.
Have you seen it? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
That's your homework.
Okay.
Okay, we have to watch it.
1984.
1984, and that was I haven't seen the movie 1984. But I think you get that together. Allegedly in California, it was you're gonna have electric cars out there, and they had cable cars like they have in San Francisco. But it was Firestone and I believe the General Motors that said no, we're going to abolish that. We're going to make gas engine. That's why smog in LA is as nasty as it is.
Well, I mean, there's some smoke to that. I mean, there's another reason why marijuana was outlawed.
What did you hear?
It was the JP Morgan, the big paper mandate, the big paper factory. Not JP Morgan. It was
William Randolph Hearst.
That's the guy.
The publisher.
The big publisher back in the day. Here's the thing. In World War II, they used hemp to make ropes for silk parachutes, right? So the hemp companies it was better than rope, it was longer lasting, it was sturdier, so they made hemp supports for parachutes. Also, they were starting to make paper products made out of hemp. All right, the joke is you're not going to smoke the paper and get high. It wasn't that kind. It wasn't done that way, but a lot of things were being made out of hemp.
Clothing.
Cheaper clothing, especially paper products. It was cheaper and easier to do. But the paper mandate, what's the feller's name again? William Randolph Hearst. He had more pull in Congress than the hemp people, so he got it outlawed as an illegal substance just so he couldn't be undercut and undersold and outbought in the paper industry. And that's why it's illegal.
Yeah.
More or less. It has nothing to do with what it does to the human body or a byproduct or whatever. It's nothing to do with it. It's all about because it was cheaper to produce than paper products.
But we have learned this from many of the guests that we've had on in the years and the books that I've read too. 3 words: follow the money. And wherever the money goes, chances are that's where the conspiracy starts off.
Yeah, more or less. That's usually what it all comes down to. And it's a shame whose life gets lost or whose village gets trampled by who knows what. It's all if they're money producing, whatever it is, someone's going to get after it.
Another one I think that you may have forgotten about this, Carrie. Maybe you did. It's so funny because I was born in '97.
Yes.
And I feel so old. I was always a cynical puke by 1997. It's I had all my hopes and dreams were dead by the time you were, sucking a thumb. And that's just the way it is. And I think my generation, I used to look at people when I was a kid, all these old people, why are you such a sourpuss? Now I see we're born into this cesspool that they call a planet. And I think there are just so many more conspiracies. You got a band name?
I've got what we'll do at the end of the episode. All the band names that I wrote down during this particular episode, I will reveal what I have written down.
Okay, very good. But there are so many conspiracies left and right. It's like, okay, follow the money. Mm-hmm. Where isn't it? Now this is why we can't do this on the radio because America. We were taught as children. America is the land of the free, the home of the brave, and anybody can be president, and it's wonderful, and it's. I don't think it is because you see news broadcasts of people burning the American flag in all over the country. Do you have any anger of anyone in any country? Iraq, Iran, South Korea, North Korea, whatever. They're basically people. I knew a guy that was in Russia as a kid. I was heard the Cold War. Russia's the enemy. They're the bad people. They plot 24/7 to kill America, and they hate us. And my buddy came over here in 1979, and he said, we heard the same thing about America. They hate us, and we're just families trying to survive. It's the governments that are playing us like checkers.
That's the thing.
And people are basically people. I got to believe that.
Black Sabbath called them the war pigs. The politicians run the show, and the people were just pawns.
An unbelievably small percentage of those people. I mean, I'm surprised the word Illuminati has not come up.
To quote one of my favorite movies, Blazing Saddles, Mongo only pawn in Game of Life.
Game of Life. More beans, Mr. Taggart?
So
I think you
boys
had
had enough. I played. This is how our show happens. Tangents. We're talking about conspiracy theories, and they bring up Blazing Saddles. And I just want to say, those of you who've never seen Blazing Saddles, especially the younger crowd,
working on it.
Have you seen it?
No, but I'm going to.
You might not like it.
You might not like it.
It's not PC.
No, it is politically incorrect as you can possibly get. But it's got some classic lines that I still find funny today. In fact, once I saw it was on Netflix, even though I own a copy of it, I watched it. Yeah, I watched it anyways. Man, I'm sorry, some of it's just still really funny.
It is.
It just makes me laugh.
When we look at pop culture, okay, whomever is in charge at the particular moment of the generation of kids coming up, they are in charge. Is it a conspiracy? Do they buy off the people like your generation? You tell me the heartthrobs and the guys that you love that I don't even know who they are. Here's how old
Name a heartthrob right now.
Yes.
Who's your heartthrob? Go.
Evan Peters.
Evan Peters.
Evan Peters.
Now, do you know who that is?
No.
I know exactly who that is.
Really?
He's been in several American Horror Story episodes.
Wow.
Plus, he was in the new X-Men movie as Silver Streak? Quicksilver.
Here's how my life is going. Justin
Good-looking fella.
Justin Bieber's father is younger than me. That's how bad my life is. I found out the other day. It's like, I'm gonna suck a bullet right now. It's all over. And I remember I was raised by my grandparents, so they skipped a generation. So when I was growing up, kid coming of age in the 70s, the pop culture things, Farrah Fawcett and all those kind of things. And that our whole generation, we used to laugh at not only our parents' generation, grandparents. Oh, they lived through the Great Depression. They're still waiting for that to come back. Someday it's going to come back. Ha ha ha, grandma and grandpa. Ha. Well, you know what? They were right.
See, when
it
I was
did
a kid,
come back.
When I was a young kid, my heartthrob was for two.
Mm-hmm.
My heart belonged to two: Victoria Principal.
Oh, love her.
And Linda Carter, a.k.a. Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She could hold up that bustier like nobody else.
I would agree with that. And it's going to be funny because your generation, too, those people they've got literally millions. If the government said, okay, what was that guy's name? Peter Evans?
Evan Peters.
Evan Peters.
Yeah.
Gotcha. If so, Evan Peters would tell everything, and Carrie would just cut Zombie 5, must shoot the president.
Gravitates over there.
Seriously, I mean, that's a wild theory. But they could say whatever they wanted to do. To say, they talk about how James Brown, when race relations were bad in the 60s. I think it was Nixon went to him and said, we have bad race relations. You are, in the black community, you are a pillar. Could you please go and calm them down? And he did. Mm-hmm. You know, he was.
Well, even race relations. He caught heat for it, too. Race relations, too. I mean, it's fed by the press. Because all you see on the news is bad news. They never fireman saves kitten from tree. You don't see that because it's not newsworthy. All you see is the bad, and it gets inbred into your brains. Like, oh my God, this world is a terrible place.
Do you actually think that the news is objective?
No.
Who's behind that?
Agendas, corporations, whoever owns. The only news that probably isn't bad is like local news.
Yeah.
I mean, they have objectives too. So the local news, your local Channel 4, wherever that may be. Okay, here's the way we're gonna tell this particular story.
Right.
But now you go to like the nightly news of any network you want to. Okay, we're owned by. We'll pick on the ABC Nightly News. Now ABC Nightly News is owned by Disney.
Oh.
So whatever agenda the Disney says, say, and I don't know who Disney supports. I'm making this up. So say Disney supported Donald Trump. I don't know.
Right.
So they're going to have all the pro-Trump news you can think of and lessen the negative stuff. It's still newsworthy, but they're going to show a specific angle to how they're going to promote stuff. And that is, unfortunately, how it works. So you're getting the truth, to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, from a certain point of view.
Here's your conspiracy theory now. Was this planned 50 years ago? We're going to go in this direction. Allegedly, they talk about Japanese businesses plan ahead 150 years.
I can
150 years.
Now, I can say a little bit about Japanese and German businesses after World War II. Because Truman Truman, for one, he was very prolific to say that here's how we're going to rebuild these two countries. We're going to give them our form of government as it exists right now. We're going to give them the democracy of the United States circa 1947, 1948. Here you go. Plan it from there. And look at them now. They have flourished. Absolutely flourished. They're not bogged down by corruption. The U.S. evolved very differently.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But Japanese and German economies, there are pillars of communities. I mean, everyone, well, if you're going to start a country, look at what Germany's doing. Well, how can that be? They were decimated. They were completely decimated by World War II. But look at them now.
Look at Nagasaki and now versus Detroit. You know, this is completely. Detroit was the big thing making all the.
Yeah, that in itself is a conspiracy theory. What happened to the U.S. after World War II? We went right down the tubes.
Right, that's a good place to end it. Right down the tubes.
Yeah,
We're going to be back.
down the tubes.
That should be
down the
tubes.
tubes. Okay, hold on, real quick. I'm gonna jot that down. I want to quickly go over the band names that I came up with this episode. So I have Window Lickers, TJ Weenies, Ad Nauseum, Golden Rivers, Sour Puss, and Down the Tubes for band names.
God bless you. If you're in a band, if you have a band name, send it to us. You can contact us. How, Carrie? Millennial Falcon.
Here's the emails right here. Go for it.
All of them?
Go for it.
Okay, so we have alienxfile at wi.rr.com.
That's Greg.
And then we have WLIP Mothership at live.com.
Yeah, that one I couldn't change. We're gonna have to leave
Okay.
that one.
And
I was
I'm
wondering.
Uranus King at AOL.com. I'm still at AOL, so I know. I'm sorry. I'm a geek.
And I set up the Tumblr page, so you can see it in the link below. But go to the Tumblr page. You can send us asks for anything, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We'll put on the show.
Facebook, YouTube. This is episode number 4. Conspiracy theories. We're conspiring about conspiracies.
That's
Conspiring
a good
about
one.
conspiracies.
And we're going to be back with more coming up in future episodes. Join us however you can. Join us. We are out for now. We'll be back again.